Hey guys, what is going on? It's Alexander Williamson here with the secret history living inside of your aquarium. So, why am I doing a live stream right now? I just did a live stream. Well, it's like 1,000,000 degrees in my house. Okay, that's an exaggeration. It's about 100 degrees in the house and high humidity because of the aquariums, and also just because it's been muggy and a rough day again. Second rough day in Seattle. No one has AC. Blah blah blah. Just wanted to get that out of the way. So what we're here to talk about today is something I came up with, and I'd be curious to see what your opinions are and what your experience is. I suppose, with this sort of thing, and I'm just trying to decide what it is that I should do to to enter our little contest. Not that I'm going to be winning for the aquascape, but let's turn this around. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, do 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 do. So, if you didn't know, which you didn't because I haven't shown anybody, and this is just on here so I could see what I was doing, but in essence, I have set up a shallow. It's I believe 8 or 9 inches deep, 6.6 gallon or 6.5 gallon aquarium, and I've put a piece of manzanita in there. I've got a little pendant light actually, which is screwed into a piece of wood right now for lack of a better idea at the moment, just to get some light on it to get it cycling because I have some shrimp and other stuff coming from Aquatic Arts that they're sending out. Now, most of my fish room has pumps in it. So we've got multiple pumps all over. It's a tangle of wires, definitely not OSHA approved. And I'm always dealing with this and splitters. And, there will be a time soon when we finally move that I get a linear piston pump and I can actually put everybody on the same line, and hopefully everything works out well at that point. But until that day, I was stuck digging through my, I guess, junk drawer, my spare parts drawer, and trying to figure out, all right, so what do I want to do on a little 5 or 6 gallon aquarium? I kind of want this sponge filter thing to happen, but what do I want to do if I don't have air? So if I don't want to run air to it, that's air was for me a magical revelation. So for years and years, all my tanks were hang off the back filters or canister filters, and or under gravel if you go way back. But then I realized, oh, I can run 1 or 2 air pumps and run all dozen tanks or whatnot. But, you run into issues with that. Or, in my case, simply just, we got a tank there, we got a tank there, and now there. Now, this tank I could easily do a pump on, but I don't need an air pump in this tank right now. I've got 2 hang off the back filters going that are more than enough, and only so much power that I want to pull from. So, what did I do? Well, I put my noggin to to work and decided that. So I set this up. You guys don't need to know all the details of how I set this up, I'm sure, but basically, I put ADA Amazonia light in here for aqua soil. I took a rock that had a lot of just mulm and gross, gooey, probably algae, whatever, stuff all over the side of it, and put that in here for some colonization of bacteria. This branch, which hasn't been in a tank for 2 years, but I put it in, and it's getting reacclimated. It's sunk again. But then I had to figure out, well, what in the heck am I gonna do for how am I gonna filter this thing? And so I looked around with the filters I had, and most of them were way too big or way too loud. And it's not that this setup is So this setup's on a stand and everything, and it's just in the room right now because, I mean, it's just because it's in a place that I don't have another place for it. Upstairs or whatnot, um, wife doesn't want more tanks. We've got enough tanks around the house. But in theory, if we had or around the apartment, I should say, if we had a bigger house or more space, then there would easily be room for this on a stand. But then I thought, okay, so what if I don't want the pump running, making the kind of humming noise? A lot of times you can hang it from below, like with zip ties or something, from below the cabinet or the stand that it's on, and then you don't hear that vibration amplifying through the bzzz. And sometimes, I mean, it'll even cause the surface of the water to do that. So what I ended up doing is I took, let's see here, I've got another spare one here. I found one of these. So what this is it's the guts of one of the new little $14 filters for Aquarium, I believe it is, or Top Fin, one of the Petco or PetSmart things that's usually only 15 bucks, but it's for 10-gallon tanks, and it's for shrimp. And so this thing actually sits in the bottom of what looks like a hang off the back filter, but it's a hang in the tank filter, and it's got a matten mesh in front of it, and then this is in the bottom instead of the any sort of there's no sort of solenoid or magnet driven piston or anything like that visible or that you can monkey with. So what you have with these is basically an inflow and an outflow, and that's it. There's different varieties. You guys can scavenge these little pumps from wherever. I went to my local nursery store in town that is for, out in your yard type nurseries, and they wanted like $40 to $50 for fountain pumps. And not that this has the pressure of a fountain pump. We can try this one out in just a sec, but this one over here is from an even smaller setup. And so what I did was I simply attached this extra elbow here, which is designed, oddly enough, to sit on the outside of the rim like this. So on this pump, the intake's on the bottom. You can increase the intensity here. But what I did is then I ripped the sponge part off of an already established, see, I just squeezed it, and now you can see the beneficial bacteria coming out of it. But it's very quiet. It fits perfectly in this little corner over here, so you can see kind of the whole profile of it, and it's gonna actually keep it keeps this whole thing. I can keep it wet with water and inundated, all running bacteria all the way down the whole thing, just by having the smallest amount in there. So we can tuck this back in the corner, and I'll show you on another example. So these, I think there's a link in the description below, I want to say. I think it's still there. But basically, these are just, oh, we got a plant loose. So these are just essentially from another little filter. And they're from one of the filters. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the interior of a small canister filter. It is really similar. A lot of these are the same, except this one is not driven by the. Why can't I think of the name? The spiral, the spiral. The thing with fins that's magnetically driven. It has a magnetic circular core, and it's charged by negative and positive, which drive the little thing around. Impeller. Sorry, guys. So the impeller, and that's actually what these kind of are as well. And power heads, yeah, exactly. So power heads, totally. A lot of times you'll find power heads like this one. Now this one does 500 gallons per hour. That's a lot, and that's what I use for my gobies. they really like it, and so do my pseudomagills. The pseudomagills really like having that much intensity in their tank, and they like swimming against it. But it's not right for all critters, you know. It can be a bit much for some of them, like shrimp and things like that. And then the other part of this is just a fan blade essentially. So it's got a motor, but it's just a fan blade. Now this is actually, this isn't sold as a power head, but I'm using it as a nighttime power head. Basically, I run the heavy duty one half the day, and then the other one based on a timer. And it's kind of angled up and to reflect off here, so that way everybody gets to swim but not blown away totally. There's some calm spots. And then there's a hang off the back filter that actually takes care of everything else. Now, to deal with things getting sucked into this, though, it does, moss and all sorts of things get sucked in here, and with the gobies, they actually can easily get sucked into there. So that's a bit of a problem, and so that's why I downsized to this one here. But you can see that gets clogged really easily. So I kind of had to go find a happy medium, and this kind here, or kind I'm using over there, just has the right input, so to speak. But you can also, I just want people to know that you're not stuck with what you think they are giving you at these stores or at places where you're buying gear. So I always, whenever there's anything up for grabs at our local fish club, I always save all sorts of oddball pieces. If they're free, if there's a filter that someone's tossing, you know, I always save all these pieces, these connectors, and of course a lot of them don't fit, they're not right, but some of them work perfectly as like a cage for that filter. You know, they don't have anything to do with one another, but it's kind of a, and it's not really a secret, but it's kind of a maybe a lesser known fact that a lot of this stuff in the hobby is used. So connectors make all the difference. See, there's just size adapters, but when you gut anything that's made by Marineland or Aquarium or Top Fin or whatever the case may be, a lot of times when you gut that stuff, you end up with the same key components, and there's variations on that. But this, we could easily put a piece around this, or get some electrical tape, some waterproof tape of whatever kind, some shrink wrap with a heat gun, whatever you'd want to do, and you could easily put, you know, a piece, something like this, over the top of it, and if you needed it to draw from somewhere else, and then it's going to exit, it's going to push water out through here. So if you wanted a fountain, this kind of gives you that effect here. And it's going through a little bit of piping, but the reason I chose that U shape was to get around the branch, for one, and for two, when I put it on medium power, it just produced this nice little trickle. And I like that. It kind of looks, it reminds me of, I guess they're a little cheesy now, but in the 90s or late 80s through the 90s, you know, you could get those Zen rock gardens with the rocks that they'd hollowed out in the center, and they put a fountain up them through the stack of rocks. So that's what's going on in this tank, and that's not giving it a lot of surface agitation. The pump, it doesn't have, I mean, the pump itself, that's what I've been going over, is basically that you don't need a pump of any specific kind, really, because this is from an Aquarium product right here. And let's see here, let me try to get light going on this thing, and clearly it is not, it's some you know, Korean or Chinese, what is this, probably Chinese, mass manufactured pump that runs the guts of everything else. So I'm not sure. But we've got the Dongguanyan Hanggu Industries. I don't know if that's owned by someone else in particular. It's interesting that it says for household indoor use only when it's an underwater product, but you know, okay, whatever. So, but yeah, you can do lots of things with these little pumps. And since we're doing an aquascaping contest, I just wanted to show you guys you could do something like this. I mean, that pump would work just fine in this 2.5 gallon. This is where my elosomas are in a bunch of moss right now. Right now, Chubbs Aquatics, what's going on? Igor, what's going on? Fish Dreams, Novice Aquarius, the next insect, Luis Segura, Crystals, Pets, and Plants. How is everybody doing? Lots of people rolling in tonight. I hope everybody's doing well. Animal Lover number 1, good to see you, my dear. Muppet, hello. Leo, Brush It Off, Painter. Lisa Perez, and Giannis Lundberg, or Janice, maybe. But I'm going to go with Giannis because I'm in that kind of mood. But yeah, so this isn't pretty. We're going to fix this up. But just like I was saying, this wasn't going to cut it. This is a cheap light, and this is a very cheap, yeah, this is a very cheap light. And so I have these struts for it that happen to fit in twin starlights also. And then I've got, pardon the giant mess, but I've got old twin starlights that I scavenged, and all sorts of legs, as well as bars where I can hang these pieces from. And then I've also got the Neverclog air stones, which I could even put the Neverclog air stone down at the base of this, or even before it connects in there. And if I put the flow up all the way, I would get that aeration action. But it's still aerating somewhat by just what it's doing now, by kind of gurgling along. That's still going to give you good aeration. It just doesn't break up the film on the top. But this tank, I don't have intentions for it to be super high protein, super high powered, that kind of thing. So it should be just fine. Whereas this tank, which has a ton of fish in it and a ton of life and just big density, CO2's running right now, all that jazz, it needs as much surface agitation as it can get. It's got a power head that I turn on sometimes over there if I notice things getting building up, and then you know, so we got lots of things going on. And then over here for those gobies, I've kept this uncleaned for 3 years now, just for pandagaras, gobies, and gudgeons. These guys right here, they can't stay away. When I'm working on the glass, they hear me tap on the glass, and they are just fascinated. It's very odd. Um, I really love these little guys. So yeah, but what I can also do on this tank if I want, since it's right here, is without even buying another splitter, speaking of DIY, when you're going with low pressure, you can definitely, you just want to use this same black tubing that's for high pressure, but really it's not a high pressure system. It'll pressurize up to 1 bubble a minute, and the thing that holds back the pressure is this diffuser here. But I picked up another one of these diffusers. These are from the Fluval to go kits, basically the little kits that are, and you know what, it's starting to cool down finally, so we need to open the window because my tanks are all running around 84, which is too hot. Luckily, it's supposed to cool down and everything should get back to normal, but everything got hot. I'm hot. So, yeah. Also, look at the size of this mammoth, this bro right here. He is, and he's angry. He'll fight my finger. I've got some cool new pictures, by the way. Dan, what's going on? How's it going? Um, yeah, and so what else was I going to tell you? Oh, I don't know if you guys saw on the Aquatic Arts website, they have all new Thai micro crabs that are in all sorts of colors: tomato, purple, and gold, all sorts. I think they may have even already sold out, but they said they're going to get more. But there's just all sorts of stuff in there that I had to go crazy, so I bought some stuff, and so I'll be getting some more stuff. there's a chance that I couldn't help myself and that I see that these guys are doing really well, living off of the materials that are in here for them. And so I think the micro gobies, the Stiphodons, Stephodon family that I have the 3 species of in here, I'm not really hoping to breed them or anything, so there's a good chance that I might get some more. Also, there's the little teeny plecos in here for now. They're not really hurting anyone or doing any damage or anything, so I'm not worried about them one way or the other. Uh, but this, yeah, so this tank right here, we've got the pseudomagills. I had been hanging sponges for them, but nobody wants to breed in there. And this is all old scaping. So as you can see, this scaping, oh, I want to see if you guys can make out what he does with his dewlap. So just like lizards, these Stiphodons have evolved a little protruding pouch under their throat, or like a frog. Can you see that, guys? Can you see it pulsing slightly under his cheek? Well, when they get really excited, and there's a few of them, and they're looking at each other from across the way, they'll actually bob their head up and down to a rhythm, and then kind of blow it up like a frog or a lizard would. So I don't know if you call it a dewlap if it's a fish, but it looks very similar to the way an anole. Oh, maybe we can see a better angle of it here. The way an anole or a gecko would do that. So yeah. Let's see if he does it. She actually, this one's a female with the single line. And then lines down her back. They have so much expression, though. All the Stiphodon species. This is probably a neon blue one. And what is my pH at for my gobies? Well, so I try to keep it fairly neutral. I do a bit of tinkering, which honestly, let's see if we can find another one that'll do it a little clearer. I try to do a little tinkering with it, and so what I'll do is I'll put, oh, here we go. So I'll put crushed coral in the tank, and here's the Palawan Riffle goby. But I will put a little bit of coral, so that gives them the calcium and the hardness that they're used to from clamshells and just other things out on not Hawaiian, in the Pacific Islands, the way they scavenge for biofilm and stuff. But, you know, birds, seabirds, and flooding and other things bring that into the streams that they live in. So I figured we need a little bit of hardness, a little bit of KH, a little bit of calcium. See, he's eating something right there. He's probably fighting with a hydra or something. I don't know, the way he's freaking out like that. I've watched him approach a hydra or two on the glass and eat them. They're just kind of fun to watch. They're little spastic little creatures. But yeah, so they are in here with the KH and the GH is just slightly bumped up. My water is extremely neutral out of the tap, and then because of all of that combined with the fact that I've got Amazonia ADA plus Fluval stratum in there, the pH seems to sit a little bit acidic, but then I've got that buffer of the crushed coral, like I said. But I also have the buffer of, or I guess not the buffer, but the difference that I have in there is that I also have leaves. So I've got leaves and moss, and here is the golden, neon gold goby here, a male. Maybe he'll do the thing with his dewlap. And basically, the leaves give it some acidity, and that they like that. They like fallen leaves in their stream, but they want the minerality that is found on an ocean, out in the middle of the ocean on an island. So it's kind of a weird, like, self-defeating thing. Um, is it okay? Is the sound going weird again, guys? It's kind of a weird self-defeating. I wanted to chill out and make sure that nothing's jumping over again. Also, we've got some of the Medaka rice fish because they also inhabit the same regions. We've got the plecos. They're oddballs. They just happen to be okay in here, and so I put them in here. And then we've got a few other critters in here in the form of shrimp. But up here you can see this moss that's going on that was actually terrestrial moss on this rock that then I submerged. So it's transforming back, but all of the little critters and bacteriums and things like that that lived on it developed a really intense biofilm, and that's what a lot of what these guys were eating for a while. Same with on the Anubias. They really like that. And then over here, there is one of my female mommy endlers. Oh, something took a bite out of her tail. I wonder what did that. That's odd. She's the biggest fish. Odd. But nevertheless, I really want you guys to see the dewlap thing. But right now they're eating. This is a female, and this is probably either the riffle. Yeah, it's the riffle, the Palawan riffle goby. Sorry, guys. The heat makes me dumb. I mean, I'm dumb, but it makes me real dumb. So she is just kind of combing through that, and what that algae is from a marmo moss ball that took off and started colonizing the tank on its own as it blew around the tank, like long time ago. Do your little thing. So see, they prop themselves up with their front fins, almost like mud skippers. And then, depending on the species, though, they have different traits. So that species, the Riffle Gobies, they're able to far more than these neon gobies here. The Riffle Gobies have this interesting fin configuration on their belly, and when you look at it, it forms a almost perfect circle right under their chest, like a suction cup. And that's how they climb up literally vertical waterfalls in the wild out in the Pacific Islands. But because they live in streams that are pretty much only fed by rainwater in tropical islands, on coral islands and on volcanic islands, that's what I was trying to say. They still have minerality just because of all the shells, the sandstone, the other items that are found on an island like that. So, yes. But basically, I've found that in a 20-gallon, you can put 2 or 3 catappa leaves, medium sized, I'd say 6 inches maybe, 5, 6 inches. And then I would say, as far as coral, I literally bought a pound of crushed coral from Aquarium Co-op just the other day. I added maybe a quarter-pound to this whole thing because I really wasn't worried about it. And I also, in the shrimp food that I feed the shrimp, they have calcium and other supplements. And so as they shed, that becomes a little part of the ecosystem. So what you can see from this angle that they won't show you, or that they weren't showing you from below, that was when they were both sitting there, both the females from different species, and they were comparing the size of their throat, their throat coats. Not, but there's no prettiness or anything on them, so it's kind of odd that they do that. But then also, I like to keep the light on this tank kind of a medium light, low power, but on all day kind of thing. I like to do that because it encourages surface algae. So I actually want biofilm and surface algae growing in this tank because there's 9 Stiphodons in here, plus um, the baby plecos and the fry of other things in here. Yeah, crushed coral, aragonite sand, that would all work too. If you put a lot of it in, it's going to buffer. But remember, buffering doesn't just mean that your pH is going up and that your water's more basic necessarily. Like up here, I've got aragonite sand and normal coarse, just quartz sand, silicate and quartz sand, and crushed coral all together. And so that if I just had water in here alone, then that gives me around a 7.8 pH, starting with a 7.0 pH. But because I've got plants in here, because in a 5-gallon I've got a few catappa leaves. These are small ones, but the equivalent of 1 or 2 catappa leaves. That really lets me take the acidity back, make it more acidic. So even though it's buffered, that means the water's not going to jump around as much. There's minerality for the shells of these neocaradinas, but you just have to watch the total KH, GH, and TDS. Some animals do not like that being super high. Also, yeah, these snails I do frequently sell, and despite the post office being so wonky right now and overnight not really meaning overnight and all sorts of things going on, if you message me after the fact, um, Martin Martin Dollinger, you can definitely, we can work something out about these snails, because these are gold, and I also have opal. So these are, or mother of pearl, whatever you want to call them. It's hard to see on a live stream, but they all are the neon pink flesh, which is a form of albinism. And then some have the very strong white clarity. They're way less common. And others are the metallic gold. Also, over here, speaking of, these were some that didn't make the cut. And somehow they managed to start proliferating in this tank. But what I'm going for in here is what we call blue. These are the blue ram's horns. They're really more of like a purple to a dark gray. Look at that little face. It's a face only a mother could love. A face and a foot. I don't know. But so yeah, and then in here, of course, you guys probably know that I've got the Nebula Shrimp, as well as these are right down here are the gold nebulas that only Aquatic Arts has right now. And the gold nebulas have those sparkling marks on them. It's really probably just some sort of calcium deposit on their shell, but whatever. It's pretty cool. I think they're pretty. And then in this tank, I've got my greener or bluer tinted Maluas, or as we've decided to call them, Gonzo shrimp, because of those crazy eyes with their rostrum. That nose, they look like Gonzo from the Muppets. So yeah, that's what's going on in here. What else do we have going on? As far as filtration and stuff that I'm setting up a little differently. In here, this is all glass bottom, so I'm just trying out different methods. This does not, this kind of agitates the water a little bit, but it doesn't really clean the water as well as I'd like for a 20-gallon. So I think I made this stack a bit too high. It's 3 stacks tall from the way you can buy them online, whereas this one's a 2-stack, and it works out better. But they get clogged very easily, for one, and for two, you always have to pop this stupid thing off, which this is the hardest part. This right up in the top, you'd think it would come off at that seam, but it doesn't. You have to take it apart at this seam and then pull everything out and then get it all back in after you clean it. But you've got all these baby snails in there pretty much without fail. So that's a little bit annoying. I love these filters that are just weighted. This one doesn't have anything special going on. It's just stock. Now, the other one that I just got is one of the new Aquarium co-op ones. And this one here in my Blue Dream tank, sorry guys, in my Blue Dreams tank is, and I don't know how they like it. I haven't really asked them yet, but let's get some of this stuff out of the way. Some of this moss and algae that they have their babies and their nursery in. But basically, right here, this is where I stole that sponge for the nanoscape that I'm working on up on the table. I just pulled it right off this, which was the only one in here for a while. So right now it's just floating to keep the other sponge wet, but I'm gonna take that other filter and actually do the same with it. Now, these new Aquarium co-op sponges, even this is the next to smallest size right here. And Corey has done a little bit of work on these so that you can actually put one of the Zis airstones fits in here. So he just did a video recently and put about to where this pointer is, there is a Zis airstone. So that gives me the finer air bubbles. It breaks up the top. It gets rid of some of the duckweed and that crap. And then just to show you the difference, you can see that aeration and that movement and the light and everything really builds up a lot of this just crap. So it's sawasutang and moss, and it gets really gnarled, and it's good for the babies. Don't get me wrong. The babies really do thrive on it, and it's good for raising. It's plenty good for raising shrimp at a leisurely pace. But what all you really need is an air stone. Ugh. So we've got the air stone over here. That's all that's ever been in here. Nothing needed to be cycled. They're just shrimp, basically. I guess that's a lie. So I did have at one point some other critters in here, and if you recall, the other critters were the Iliosoma sunfish. And then up here, we've got some Batis in need of a tank cleaning, in need of a little container cleaning. But I usually just do this and kind of get rid of most of the junk and debris, and these shrimp are waiting patiently to eat it. So yeah, these are the these are the red, super red. They're not Bloody Marys, but you can see I've got a lot of babies in here right now. They're on pretty much every surface all over. So we'll see. Some of the adults have been passing away. A lot of the females. I got these from a source that shall remain nameless, but very nice guy and everything. But they have some sort of issue right now where sometimes the females get, it's not Iliobiopsidae, but sometimes the females get an issue on their where their eggs are, and they turn white and basically rot, and then the mother gets sick and it's no good. So I don't know what to do about that. It's gone completely, and then it comes back just on the eggs. Doesn't spread to the males or anything. Doesn't kill them. But it just really hammers their immune system. And then eventually I'll find a dead shrimp. But there's no correlation to that's killing them or anything. So up here we've got lots of Malawa shrimp. This is the tank where my normal Malawas are, but sometimes we'll get a beautiful blue or red one. And there's also some gold Nebula shrimp here, also from Aquatic Arts. And the ones in here are my greenish or bluish nebulas. So you can see they look kind of cool. They kind of look like Babalti with spots on them or something like that. But an interesting thing about these is I don't think, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually a subspecies of the Malawa, or I think they're called Viva Vidali shrimp, or Vividali shrimp. And it wouldn't surprise me if they were directly related, because all you have to do is turn up the KH specifically, not the GH. GH doesn't matter, but crank up the KH in their aquarium, and they get those spots all over. So, in any case, I'll show you guys one more time. Here's that little pump, little filter doing its thing. Got some of those ram's horns in here, just acclimating. We've also got one Endler in here and one Corridora in here, just because I like to cycle with some fish if it's stable. And I've done this enough times that I know they'll be fine. Also, we've got this new filter, which is a sponge filter, kind of like that one that I scavenged to make that. But I'm going to try to power this one for a bigger 10-gallon tank. It's like a cheap ripoff of a Ziz filter. It was $3.99 or $4.99. And so if I can run this through the bottom here, I can also put some bio balls or filter media there, and then I won't need to have an air stone at all. We'll see how it works. I don't know. I'm going to try a few more things, and I'll let you guys know if they're worthwhile. Yeah, so I'm going to turn off this light here. I totally disassembled this thing the way it came. Old junk I had. So, let's see what else is going on. These guys, like I said, they're doing good. Chugging along. My Red Riding Hoods. Some of them are turning kind of into Rileys instead of Red Riding Hoods again. Well, he's pooping, but never mind the man, or the little shrimp man poop. So then I've also got a couple of the green jade females isolated up here that appeared to be buried, but I want to put them over there, and maybe some golds up here. There's red cherries up here and Malawas up here. It's kind of my catch-all tank, and I need to straighten out that I need to catch less of all. Also, up here, this tank, you can see I kind of scavenged from it, but the L138s I got from Aquatic Arts, the adults, doing really good. And the lemon plecos, really good looking right now. So I had to make some room. I did that. I want to get these guys spawning eventually. There's another. Alright, hold on a second. Yeah, you're right. I don't have my Dr. Pepper. What gives? But yeah, you can move my Eliosomas. And just have that. Alright. Alright, guys. So that's kind of what's going on in the world of the fish tanks, the working on projects myself. And then here we've got the cribs and the normal cribs. And then we've also got the angels. Oh, they just laid eggs too, by the way. So Sergio, being the playa that he is, he's always got a harem. And this is his lady this week. 2 weeks ago, this was his lady. And so I'm sure they will all be fighting again. And then the Panda Corridoras are spawning. And I just let them spawn at the rate that they want to. Also, I have extra pumps here, right here. So I could have put a pump and a filter thing into there. Sorry about the TV, let me get out of this room. But I just didn't feel like it needed it, so I didn't do it. Alright, we're out on the shared deck. Feels a lot better out here, sun's starting to go down. Alright guys, so that was meant to be just like a 10 or 15 minute video, but I just wanted to show you guys what I've been working on. You guys can probably tell that I don't feel good. I'm really getting worn out. My bags under my eyes. Didn't sleep last night. It only got down to 70 degrees or something like that. So, and I'm just pouring sweat tonight still. Finally, though, it's cooling down. So, thanks, guys, for watching. If you're interested in any of this stuff, go out and make it. No, I'm just kidding. I kind of went over where you can find it. You kind of scavenge it, and a lot of times you'll find it on Craigslist, like a tank that's cracked, and they'll have all the other stuff, and it'll say free. I'll go find those if they're near me, and I'll just take the pieces that still work for things and bleach them and call it a day. Call it good. Put them in the drawer. So just wanted to recommend doing that. Oh, it feels so good out here compared to how hot it is inside right now. Us people in Seattle, none of us have AC, and you know, I think it was 92 today, and it hit 101 at my house yesterday. Plus the humidity was 100%. We had lightning and stuff. Just kind of unusual for Seattle to get more than a couple days of that. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We'll talk about more next time. I'll answer some of your questions and stuff next time. Next live stream will be probably Wednesday. Around 5 or 6 probably. PM Pacific time. I'm going to shoot for Wednesday, and Sunday will be my live stream days this week. And then also, if you wanted to know the info on the giveaways and how to do that, and the aquascapes you could be working on with a photo for your inspiration and a photo, and then working on whatever you're working on, you can check that out too. There's links to the Facebook group. There's links to all the new apparel, and then there's links to Patreon, because I'm giving Patreon subscribers access to all that stuff first. I need to cool down, dunk my head in a bucket of water before I get heat stroke, because just not used to it. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye-bye.